Panther Nation, C3 Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
I had fun, man. Just out, you guys joking. We working at the same time. Putting the work in as a team. Like I said, I'm just glad to be with the guys.
My favorite night of the week.
We're gonna go out there and we're playing to win. We're not out here just to show up. We're out here to win.
I don't want guys that want to win, because really, who doesn't? Nobody wants to win. Everybody wants to win. I want players that hate to lose.
Well, this embodies everything that we are as a team, as an organization. Our motto is keep pounding. That's what we do. You know what I'm saying?
What's up, Panther fans? It's your boy, Professor, a.k.a. Tony Dunn. This is a C3 Podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions. I'm here tonight with my homeboys, Mel Mayock in the house, Joe Riolano here tonight. What's up, fellas? Joe, how you doing, my friend? I hear you got a new phone.
I did. I had a minor accident with my old phone, so it's time to upgrade, and I liked what you said about a Pixel, so I went that route. What's up, Panther Nation? I am happy to be here on a Tuesday after a win. We get to talk good things about the Panthers, maybe some bad, who knows? Tune in and find out. But I'm ready to get this show started.
Mel Mayock in the house. How you doing, Mel? I'm counting down the days to come see you.
Yes, sir. What you coming down on the 16th, right? So about another 2 weeks.
Yeah, dude,
here.
I'm coming there, and guess what? I don't have to drive home after the game this time.
What?
Thank Jesus, I don't have to work the next day. So, get your Uber service ready, Charlotte.
Man,
Tony's coming in hot.
Now that is, man, I'm gonna have to start saving my nickels now. Anytime Tony comes into town, man, I gotta have that. I gotta have that fridge stocked, man. I gotta have that beer on tap.
That's right. I'll drink you out of house at home. That's what I will do.
I'll tell you, I'm sitting there drinking a beer. Last time y'all came into town, I turned around, you're on your fourth. I'm like, holy crap.
I have been actually cooling it on the beer over the last 5 days. I'm drinking a Coke Zero. I'm drinking a Coke Zero tonight. Yeah, I gotta chill out, dude. Like, I'm starting to get to the point where I'm just feeling older. So like that, those beers just make me tired the next day, and they certainly make me fatter. So I'm trying to improve my lifestyle.
I hear you. Well, hey, I'm very excited to be here tonight, man. There's so much going on Panther style, or on the Panther land, but. Is it true, Joe? You said you had an accident with your phone. Did that happen during the Panther game? You got a little upset, threw the phone down, stomped on it, started yelling at the TV.
Not in this game. Not in this game. We're 8-3, guys. There's no reason to stomp on your phone. Right. Tonight's show is Northern Hospitality and Po' Boys. Episode 17.43. That's right, folks. We're on our 43rd episode of the season, in our 5th season, I believe. So we're talking. That's like something like 600. No, like 300 or so, 350 episodes of the C3 Carolina podcast that we're killing it. So we're really doing a good. We're excited. The Panthers are 8-3. They win over the Jets 35-27. We're going to break down all of that tonight. And then about 35 after the hour, in about 30 minutes, Joe's going to be dipping out and jumping on a Saints podcast. And we're poaching Bob Rose from the Canal Street Chronicles and SB Nation to come and talk about this huge game that is going down this week between the Panthers and the Saints. So this will be, there's a lot to talk about. I've got the teams written down who made the C3 Fantasy Football Playoffs, the grandest fantasy football challenge in the land for Panther fans, and 12 teams have made it. One will win $300 in a Christian McCaffrey jersey. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We got cat calls at the end of the show with the ice up picks. But until all of that, we're going to be talking everything you need to know about the Carolina Panthers, the latest Panthers news and opinion. But we need your help, folks. We need to continue to grow this podcast and grow Panther Nation. You can help us by smashing that thumbs up button on YouTube, Facebook, and if you're on Periscope, hit retweet, right? Follow us at cat_chronicles. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Join the Carolina Cat Chronicles Facebook page. And really just tell another Panther fan about CarolinaCatChronicles.com and the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast. And you can always continue. You can donate to the show. That information is in the description of the show on YouTube and on the website. As well as you can really continue to help this show grow by calling the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. And we got some good calls at the end of the show. Guys, the Panthers coming off a bye. Not necessarily a great history under Ron Rivera coming off the bye. Go to the Jets, who have been a competitive team all season, have played some tough teams, got more wins than we thought. And a lot of people calls last week suggesting that there was fear that this could be a trap game. And boy, the Jets kept it close, but the Panthers pulled ahead 35-27. I want to ask you this. We'll start with this question. If I told you that Cam Newton did not have any turnovers, that we had 145 yards rushing, we had a punt return touchdown and a defensive touchdown, and that this was a bad game, how would that sit with you?
That's a great question. You know, I mean, I really think a part of it, because there was a lot of chatter on Twitter about, we look terrible, what's going on? You know, we're not going to beat the Saints playing like this. But there's some truth to that, because we do have to play better this coming Sunday to beat the Saints. But at the same time, I think you want to win with style points, unfortunately. That's today's age. And you look at the Philadelphia Eagles, and they beat the Bears 31-3. And then you look at us, and where everybody's hoping we run into New York and just roll this team. But, man, I mean, the Jets, they got some players now, and they play pretty well. And that is a winning formula for the Panthers. If we get turnovers and we don't turn the ball over and we rush the ball, we're going to win. And like Cam Newton said, it might be an ugly win, but I've never heard of a pretty loss. All right, so we'll take it.
That's the truth.
I think, it is a winning formula for us. I mean, let's be honest. We definitely did not bring our A game.
But I'm proud of them. I'm proud of them for not getting down in the dumps and then folding tent like we've seen before, like in Chicago. Right? Yeah. I mean, they were resilient fine.
It's fair to say that the officials had a hand in us winning. Not saying they made up calls, but, making the calls that they made against the Jets, they were very beneficial to us. Again, not saying that the Jets weren't committing fouls, but, we got bailed out because of the errors by the Jets. I think
I mean, when we were first and goal at the 1, and then we had the offsides penalty take us back to first and goal from the 6. But then they turn right around and have 12 men on the field and move it right back. Yeah, I mean, that's part of the Jets' boneheadedness, and that's been happening all year, though. And referees do go with reputation. When they know a team makes boneheaded mistakes, they're looking for them.
When I watch this game, guys, and I'm going to echo a lot of the sentiments in the YouTube chat, I did not feel – obviously you want the team to be sharper. You want the defense to look like the 85 Bears every week. You want the offense to look like the 2015 Panthers every week. And you know what? But I really like the number 8-3. And I think that quietly we're having a great season. And that it's under the radar. And you know what? I didn't really have a problem with the game. I would have had a problem with the game if we would have let it get out of hand. But we didn't. There were some warts in this game. I thought, if anything, I think that the criticism was slightly overblown. I do think that it's a tough environment to go on the road against a team that has somehow developed some pride in themselves and to pull out that win. I think that that's a gritty thing to do. So,
and you know what, Professor, when you hear a team or commentators who saw a practice, anytime you hear a team had a really good, spirited, solid practice week, then you should be concerned, because preparation throughout the week determines who wins on Sunday. And you heard several folks talk about how great the Jets practiced all week and how good and sharp they looked on Friday. That gave me some concern. And they played sharp. They played pretty doggone well. I mean, they made some boneheaded mistakes, but Josh McCown's a player. I mean,
oh gosh, don't say that. He's a player. No, he's not.
307 yards and 3 touchdowns against the number 1 rated defense.
He's had a good game. He's been playing well this year.
He's got better stats than Cam Newton this year. This year he does.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so go ahead, Joe.
No, I was going to say, I think the good thing about this is good teams just find a way to win.
Right.
Yes, the Jets did shoot themselves in the foot many times, but at the same time, you know, we put pressure on the quarterback that made him fumble, and Luke scooped it up and ran it in. Okay? That's good teams finding ways to win.
Exactly.
All right? And I think that's how we have to look at this game. It wasn't pretty, but we won, and that's the mark of a good team.
I think that learning to win is important, right? And it's something that we had to do. And we saw throughout Cam's tenure, some other things in Ron Rivera's tenure, that learning to win was getting over the hump. If you go back to 2014, it was learning how to pull it out when everything wasn't going your way. I tell you one thing is that you can criticize the Carolina Panthers play in this game, and we will talk about some of those things that were frustrating, but at the end of the season, when you're in the playoffs, you don't go back and say, well, man, we barely won over the Jets.
Or the Buffalo Bills. Yep.
Yeah, it's a win in the win column. It feels big now. It feels big when you're watching it, right? But I think that a win is a win, especially on the road, is something, you know. And to get this, we needed this win. You know, you got to go and play the Saints, you got to go and play the Vikings, and you're in a conference where everybody is 8-3. Like whole the whole conference is like got a winning record. So this was a must win. It was a trap game that we didn't get trapped in, fortunately. So now, moving on to some of those things that were concerning. Let's start with the defense. The defense had, in some ways, I think, Mel, you described it as them as the saviors of the game at one point. But also, man, Bilal Powell, what is his name? Bilal Powell?
Mm-hmm.
Bilal Powell.
Just demolishing us in the run game.
He's been a solid running back forever,
and he is
man.
Fast, dude. He is a lot fast for a dude who's got some stock to him.
Yeah.
And then McCown looking like a damn Pro Bowler out there.
Powell only had 34 yards though.
Yeah, but he got them all in one run.
Yeah.
I felt like they're running. Maybe it wasn't him. It was their running attack was effective. I felt like.
Well, they had 4 different people with significant yards, including McCown. McCown had 28. I mean, Powell had 34. McCown had 28. Forte had 26, and McGuire had 21. So it was kind of a running back by committee type of thing.
Yeah.
It went over 100, but it was spread around pretty good.
They didn't run the ball a ton, it didn't seem like, but when they did, it was effective. And, you know, the one thing is that when you've got a defense where the secondary is the suspect part of the defense, right. You can't let teams run the ball on you. You can't have 2 weaknesses on defense. You can only have one. you can mask one through scheme if you know that's what's going down. But if teams are running the ball on you too, it's tough.
That's why looking at this weekend is so paramount. I mean, that's been the secret to the Saints game. If you watch the Saints-Rams game, man, their secret, I mean, they are no longer the Drew Brees show. Drew Brees is not carrying that team. They are led by Mark Ingram and Alvin Kamara. And if we
Kamara, dude, that guy is a beast.
He has saved one of my fantasy teams single-handedly this year.
Dude, he was the second to last pick that I had in a 14-team draft, and he has been my star.
Right. He's a stud. You know, he really is. He's fun to watch. You know, it's going to be a great game, but we've got to put the brakes on Ingram and Kamara. We got to make Brees throw the ball, and then we got to get pressure on Brees. That's the key. And we got to be able to run the ball.
Joe, Blue Bajou in YouTube chat. Haven't seen him in a while, but he said, I tried telling y'all that this defense isn't all that great. And Joey, you and I have both been on that non-bandwagon, and that we're not needing to trash the defense and say they're not good, but we know this isn't the greatest Panthers defense. And Luke Kuechly is the guy on this defensive team. You get some other guys. You get Mario Addison, who's playing, I think, is having a really nice season. K'Wan Short's amazing. Mm-hmm. But other than that, everybody is just okay.
Mm-hmm.
Which is fine. Which is fine. It's just not it's not a defense that you're going to need the Carolina Panthers offense to be an offense. You can't expect us to be like the Ravens.
Guys, this is not
offense to go out and win it.
That's right. But this is not something I've even talked with you guys about. But I'm looking at this. You look at the offensive struggles. I think our defense played well enough for us to win. And obviously, between the Kalen Clay return and the Luke Kuechly fumble recovery, Wes Horton really made that play. And some other big-time sacks and other things. The defense played well enough. The offense, I really feel like we're a fragile offense that can blossom and make a hot run down the stretch. But with Greg Olsen coming back this week, I think people were feeling – I mean, they're still trying to figure it out, and it feels like they almost figured it out, and now they're adding Olsen back in. They're trying to figure out where he fits in the offense, and they're not playing with swagger.
I'm not too excited about Olsen's return yet. Just to finish up on the defense, though, before we shift gears to the offense, is that I think the concern with the defense is that better quarterbacks could really make you pay. We've gotten away with some things. We got lucky on defense against the Falcons. We got lucky in this game with a drop pass by Asta Rastafarian Jenkins, the blood smoker, right? And then the refs really gave us a gift when they took that touchdown away, which was a touchdown. I mean, I'm sorry, it was a touchdown. He didn't drop that ball. It didn't move. I mean, like a good a good offense, a really good playoff offense. You know, I don't know if you're going to get those breaks, and then that comes down to, like a lot of people are saying in the chat room, how good is Bradbury? You know, is that he's not. Slim J says Bradbury just isn't a lockdown corner, and then we've seen a lot of questions surrounding Daryl Worley and what's his name, Kevon Seymour, and that neither of those guys, they said on the broadcast, I don't know if it was the radio broadcast or the TV broadcast, that these guys just, nobody's ready to be number 2 yet. And then you've got a number 1 who is young. So I think
that's it. I think they're all young. I think they're developing players. They're not ready for prime time. And that's okay. I mean, that's the reality of the NFL. I mean, very few players come in their first and second years and just become the dominant player that they can be. Look at Josh Norman. It took him, 4 years before he became Josh Norman.
Yeah, I think we just need to we need to be cautious when we start to, at the beginning, we all get in the hype at the beginning of the year when it comes to like Christian McCaffrey juking all the linebackers. Bradbury is the next Patrick Peterson, and this team, they have to play complementary football for us to be successful. So let's turn to that offense. I feel like the offense is starting to play better. I know that that a lot of people are not going to agree after after the Jets game, because it was up and down. But let's start with that passing attack, and because then we'll segue to Cam Newton. Is that you really see Devin Funchess catapulting and playing like a guy who is just impressed. And man, he's impressed me. I'm ready to just say I was wrong on the cat, and maybe we were just using him wrong the whole time. But then at the same time, there's nobody on the other side.
That's the problem. The number 2 guy. Now Curtis Samuel was really rising up. He could. He
had one game. He had one game.
But he was coming along.
He had like a half. It was like, yes, it was about
but what I think what you're saying, Mel, is we saw him improving game by game. He was getting more comfortable.
Right.
He was getting more involved. So we saw an upward trend.
Right.
What the heck is this? Is Creative Lynn says this? Funchess saying he has to learn how to catch with his body. No.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Does that mean like box out?
Yeah. More like that as opposed to just always.
I hope so.
God.
Let the ball.
We are tired of body catchers.
Right.
In certain situations, a body catch is the right catch to make. You get to protect yourself that way, and it'll help you hold on to the ball. So in certain situations, you do want to do that.
He needs to use his size.
That's probably a better way.
He did have that one drop that could have really helped us extend that game. Right, he had a drop, but he had a great game, 107 yards.
He had a couple of them. He could have had a touchdown. He had a good game. It was not flawless, but at the other side, on the other side, is that Kalen Clay limited. I mean, I'm sorry, just he's got limitations.
Hey, let me say this about that. Okay, right, he is limited right now, but we saw his speed, and if we can get him to be comfortable in our system and to be able to play well on the field on offense, he could be dangerous.
And here's the question: is he good enough to be better than Philly Brown was in 2015? That's all we need.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Then he can be good enough to.
Because you know what is that automatically he's better than Philly Brown because he can catch punts and return them for touchdowns. Philly Brown couldn't even do that.
I didn't realize how fast he was.
Yeah, he's fast.
When you saw that return, he was just going by guys if they were standing still.
Yeah, there was it's a quick speed. You know what I'm saying? Right. Some of these guys just have straight line speed or whatever. But I think too is that where is Russell Shepard?
Right,
just missing in action, dude. Just completely missing. I thought he would be able to step into the number 2 receiver role, and he's not slow. He's not super fast, but he's not slow. He's not small, but he's not super big. He's got experience. He's supposed to be sharp route runner and all of this, and it looks like the team does not excited about him at the moment.
Well, remember, we saw what happened when he did get in the game and was involved in the offense. We saw a couple of drops, did we not?
A couple of weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, big time drop.
Yeah. But that's funny how he gets in the doghouse, but Jonathan Stewart with the cruddiest fumble.
Sorry, he's in my doghouse, man.
This is let's talk about this in offensive limitation. Is that at what point, and you hate to you don't want to I don't want to feel like I'm just dumping on dudes because they make one mistake when they do so many things well. But You're going to try to tell me that this guy has struggled overall this season, and you're going to give Cameron Artis-Payne 1 carry?
Right. And the argument for Jonathan Stewart that you always hear from the team and his defenders is over the history of his career, he doesn't turn the ball over. He's always running the ball well. He makes a mistake here or there. You don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? That's kind of the argument. Right. But last year, he had 1 100-yard game. This year, he's had 1 100-yard game. I mean, how much more do you need? And this past week, he had 15 carries for 26 yards. That's awful. Awful. And then that fumble on that pitch, now thankfully we got it back, but that was a drive killer. That puts you behind the chains and sets a bad tone for the game, and that's the type of thing that could lose you a game. I'm sorry. I totally agree with you. You got to put Cameron Artis-Payne, give him 15 carries next week. See how he does.
I don't think you're wrong, but the Jets were very focused on trying to stop the run. They were. That was their main concern.
Now, to his defense, that's been a problem with our running game. Is every team is focused on shutting down that running game. Make Cam Newton beat you out of the pocket. That's the blueprint, right? And that's been hurting us all year long. But, hey, McCaffrey, 7 rushes, 62 yards.
Right, most of which came on 1 run. But
Correct.
Still, he was productive.
Right.
D. Breeze W says this, and I agree with this. Jay Stu is hesitating too much early on. If he would just lay the wood by attacking the hole.
Yeah.
He doesn't – you don't see him attacking the hole. You just don't see that. And when you look around the league and you see some of the younger guys, this is something I've been saying too, is that he looks for contact because he expects contact. So all he expects is like to get 3 yards. And so like I'm going to get you 3 no matter if it's a terrible run or not. And if you need 3, I'll get you. If you need 2, I'll get you 3. If you need 4, I'll get you 3.
That's right.
Who's the guy that said that back in the day?
No, I was just wondering. I can see him, but I can't remember.
But he expects the contact instead of hoping to get past that and then taking contact if necessary. And
now he's got a reputation as a fumbler. That teams are trying to stand him up and punch the ball out.
So I think I see Cameron Artis-Payne. I mean, obviously I'm rooting for the guy because like I felt like that's been like what I've been saying, and we all want to be right in what we think. But at the same time, is that like you at some point if you're going to treat other guys on the team in this way where you drop a ball, so we're going to give you less snaps, we're going to be worried about you in this case. Or Cameron Artis-Payne had a fumble 2 years ago, and that obviously was enough for them to question it. But then you don't do that with some other positions is tough. I mean, I think you could say the same thing when it comes to Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson is receiving a ton of snaps, and he's not bad, he's just not good either. And that's so at some point you need guys that maybe have a higher ceiling. So let's talk about somebody who people were very critical about. How bad of a game was this, Joey? And I know you got to leave. How bad of a game was this for Cam Newton?
It was a bad game. He was really off. Obviously something was bothering him because he was high with the ball often. And, it's got to be that thumb. It was bothering him more than they wanted to let on. And really, I mean, let's be honest, he really was not very involved in the running game either.
No. I disagree, though, that he was as off as people are making it. Is that I went through, guys, because I was watching the game, and, I didn't go, oh, Cam Newton had the most amazing game ever. I mean, he didn't throw a touchdown. He didn't have any turnovers. But the next day I turned on the radio. I turned on Charlotte radio, and man, you would think it was the worst possible game in the history of mankind. when it came to. So I went back and I charted every passing play, every completion and incompletion to see how bad he was. And Cam, I made it. He made 1, 2. He had 28 passes. He had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He had 5, 6, 7 bad passes that were just he missed. I wrote bad Cam, right, where he sailed it. He made a bad decision, but in his defense, is that there were a lot of plays out there that he made that, first of all, no other quarterback in the league could have made. Mm-hmm. These out routes he throws are crazy. They're dangerous as hell, but he's throwing a damn speeding bullet. He's the only guy that can do it. There were a couple of completions where he missed. All right, so the third drive of the game, he went 1 for the fourth drive of the game, he went 1 for 2. His one missed pass was a 40-yard route. It was if it would have just been a hair more upfield, it was just off the mark. So you're talking about some of the passes that he missed are very low percentage throws in the first place. You know what I'm saying? And
that's
then
one of the things that kills me is on 3rd and 2. Yeah. And you go for a bomb. That kind of stuff has to stop.
That's exactly right. There's a ton of those. And then I went and looked, and Joe, you can go. I know you got to run, so you go ahead and go.
All right. I'll be back.
Yeah, Joe's coming back for the ice up picks and all of that later on. But you're right, Mel, is that I was looking at it. So the first drive of the game, he opens right to Olsen, completion. Incomplete. It was a dig route to Clay. It was not inaccurate. It may not have been the best decision, but it wasn't a bad pass. Fake handoff. He missed a 1st and 20 pass. 3rd and 3. You go 4 receivers spread. Trips left with McCaffrey and Olsen in the slot. Funchess is isolated. All the routes are deep. It's 3rd and 3. Every single route is deep.
That's ridiculous.
It's a tough read and a tough throw. Yeah, it was a little late to Olsen, but it's not like he was just wildly inaccurate.
And when people say Cam has a bad game, Cam had a bad game against the Saints the first go around. That was an awful game, right? When we were there and he had seemed like 4 or 5 interceptions. That was a bad game. When he has no turnovers, that's a good game for me. You know, I mean, he did enough for us to win. It wasn't his best game, but you're not going to have your best game every week.
I think this is, and we'll talk more about this later on in the season, some other things. But if you look at the 6th drive of the game, we go 1st and 10, 2nd and 10, 3rd and 10. All right. He goes 0 for 3. There's 3 incomplete passes. You get a 1st and 10. It's a broken play. Cam has to throw on the run. I mean, it was an awkward and impossible throw. So, like, can you put a broken play on him and say, well, that's just inaccuracy? All right, the second one, a 2nd and 10, he threw into double coverage, right? And that was the one where he threw to McCaffrey. It was a little bit behind him. It was like right in the middle. And then 3rd and 10 was a throwaway. So I just feel like this, if you really go and look at the plays, is that like 1 out of the 3 passes that he misses are bad. The other 2 are broken plays, throwaways, missed plays, and then the ones he is missing are so down the field, low percentage throws that, I mean, like if I watched Joe Flacco play last night, and Joe Flacco wasn't even in the same zip code on deep balls.
Right.
Like Cam is throwing these balls 50 yards downfield, and all right, and you're upset that it was 6 inches off the mark.
Now, my problem is it Cam's decision or is it Mike Shula's call to run all the routes that deep? Because I'm telling you, when you got McCaffrey You don't need. You got to move the chains. 3rd and 2. Don't go deep. Just don't do it.
I think that what we see or what we're lacking is, again, we've talked about this, is the diversity of routes. Like, you need a deep route. You need an underneath route. You need a middle route. Yeah, and then too, when you look at some of the deep routes that are being run as well, and you've got Clay, who's the only one out there fast enough to do it.
Until this week.
Well, I mean, but like Funches, I mean, you're talking about you're sending Olsen 20 yards downfield. Yeah, but you're sending Olsen 20 yards downfield. It's going to take time for these things to develop.
Yeah.
I don't think that, like, I'm not saying that. I don't want this to be I defend Cam at every turn. But when I was watching the game, I just didn't feel like it was a horrendous game by Cam.
I agree. I got into a minor argument with a guy on Twitter during the game because he kept going, "Oh man, he sucks. This is awful, and he's got to step up, or we're going nowhere." Cam sucks, and I was saying, "Dude, you got to back off. He's not playing lights out, but come on, enjoy the dang game. We're 7-3 at the time. The dude's playing. I mean, you got to step back as a fan and enjoy what you got and not get so pissed off that everything isn't perfect style points-wise every week. Now, I would be mad if he goes out there and he's throwing 4 and 5 interceptions in a game. Yeah, I'm going to get mad. But when he's a little bit off, he's playing with a sore thumb. You're bringing in new receivers. He's not lights out, but he's not turning the ball over, and he's one of the best in the league. Freaking enjoy him because he's a future Hall of Famer.
Yeah, the reason this game it felt bad for Cam is because there was a lull between the second. Yeah. It was a stretch of things going wrong. It was breakdown plays, poor calls, and then Cam, somebody would drop it and it would put Cam in a tough position, and he would make a mistake. So it felt like at the end that Cam wasn't having all that fantastic of a game, but there were a lot of other factors I felt that were contributing to this that I think it's lazy to look at 11 and 28 and say he's just inaccurate.
Right.
Like, yeah, did he leave some plays out on the field? Certainly. Sure. Did he was he a little late on some plays? Yeah. But he also made some crazy-ass plays, too, that were impossible for other quarterbacks. So we'll talk more Panthers, but now we've got Bob Rose, Canal Street Chronicles, one chronicle to another, SB Nation here. Joining us back, he came on before the first Saints match. It did not turn out well for the Panthers, but it set the Saints up for, an 8-game win streak, Bob?
Yes, sir. Indeed, it did. That Carolina game at your place was the first win in 8 in a row before LA brought us crashing down to earth this last Sunday. But definitely,
how did it feel? How did it feel as a fan for that to happen? Because we've been through it. Cool. We've been through it, and it's crazy. It's kind of a crazy feeling.
I'll be honest with you guys. You almost, as a Saints fan. And as someone who follows and covers the team, you almost felt this coming. I mean, New Orleans went into the game; they were without their top 2 cornerbacks, Marcus Lattimore and Ken Crawley. They had just lost Alex Okafor at defensive end the previous week, and had not played well against Washington the week before that. So on the road against LA, I was hoping that the Rams weren't for real and that they were kind of doing it with smoke and mirrors, but obviously that's not the case. I mean, that team is a legitimate deep playoff contender. But yeah, like I said, you almost felt it coming. You just hoped that the team could stave off the Wolves for another week, and it wasn't meant to be.
Well, I've felt it was almost coming for like 6 weeks, and I have been like, this is the week. I actually picked. I go on the radio show each week, and we do a pick 'em all year long. And I picked the Saints this week because, despite those things against the Rams, I said, "Man, I picked Washington the week before, and I said, this is the team. Washington's a better team than people think. They, it's time for the Saints to have their down game against a good team. And you know what? As I've seen the Saints go from a team that eked out a couple of wins to blow out a couple of teams, and then found a way to win against Washington, which was crazy. So I thought, man, I was worried about the Rams coming off that Minnesota game. I was wondering just how good they were. But, all good things must come to an end. And while you guys did get set back in this game, this is a good season and a good team. Where are you guys in the aftermath of that loss?
Hoping that we can get one, if not both of those cornerbacks back on the field. That's the biggest key. Coming away from that Rams loss, you can't point and say that that's the only excuse or reason why they lost the game, because you look at the Saints offensive side of the ball, and that offensive line, who had been playing extremely well all season long, they did not play well against the Rams whatsoever, which has to be worrisome for the team and the coaches inside of that room, because they're going up against another spectacular front seven in the rematch against Carolina now. So that's what it is in the aftermath. Because remember, guys, this is still a very young team, and this is probably their biggest backs to the wall game that they have faced up to this point. And I'm very interested to see how they're going to respond.
We were talking about this a little bit earlier. Mel and I were talking about how this team is not being carried by Drew Brees, but and not that he isn't playing good. I mean, I don't think he's been playing poorly or anything. But that this running attack has just been crazy awesome. Do you even? I feel like this is like, how is this even happening in New Orleans? Like, seriously, like, is Sean Payton really want to just come out and throw it 50 times?
Honestly, if you ask Sean Payton, I think he would say, I would love to throw the ball every single down, and only run it like 5 times a game, catching the defense completely off guard. The man likes to throw the ball. He always has. He's a West Coast disciple, and that West Coast offensive term. That sort of offense from the old Don Coryell and old Bill Walsh days. That's been modified so many times now that you just kind of roll your eyes whenever you hear the term West Coast offense. Right. But Payton definitely has his own version, and if you would, and I think he even went on record, one year, one of Breeze's many 5,000-yard passing seasons, and he actually went on record and said, I don't mind throwing the ball 60% of the time if it means coming up with a win. And if you have that type of quarterback, you have to be tempted to throw the ball every down. Yeah. I would be.
How good, man, Alvin Kamara. Just amazing. Just freaking amazing. What is so special about him?
His elusiveness, which I know that's easy to say. That's what everybody pointed to coming out. But I think he's more elusive than what many people even anticipated that he would be. And I've been saying this since the preseason, and I certainly wasn't alone. He's an every down back. He's an every down caliber of back. He is not what the Saints had before in Darren Sproles or anything like that. He's not a third down or a pass receiving back. The man can run. The man can run against a stack line on first down, and move out.
He's a special player. He's kind of got that it factor. You know who he kind of reminds me of? It's a little bit of LaDainian Tomlinson. He's just kind of that guy that is a little bit undersized, right? But he's a guy that just seems to make plays. He makes something happen when he has the ball. Whether it's getting it out of the backfield or running it up the middle, like you said, he's not he's not Reggie Bush, right? No. He's better than Reggie Bush. He's a special player. But going back, I'm interested to hear because I watched that game, against the Rams, but I didn't really notice. Maybe I just wasn't paying attention enough. I didn't notice the offensive line playing poorly, and I really think the unsung heroes for the Saints this year have been Andrus Peat and Ryan Ramczyk.
They have absolutely been the unsung heroes, and the offensive line as a whole has performed extremely well, even when they were missing Armstead when he was out for a few games, and had to shuffle some pieces around, and Pete and Ramczyk are both playing like Pro Bowl players, but I didn't think the Saints coming into that game against the Rams. I think that they were wanting to throw the ball down the field, and you could watch Breeze. Breeze being a shorter guy, if he's looking down the field first, he always arches that neck, and he works his reads as they get in closer to him. And the offensive line just wasn't giving him the time to do that. Even though the Saints passed more than they ran, and their rushing yardage totals were not that bad. They were bolstered by that 74-yard touchdown run by Kamara. If you take that out, they didn't run the ball well enough on first down to give them more options into second down. And that's why I said, no, again, the Rams have a spectacular front four, and Alex Ogletree at the linebacker position is one of the better ones in the league, and he played his rear end off that game too.
Yeah, I going back to the Rams Vikings game. I think the reason that I was stunned is that they couldn't generate much pressure on Case Keenum in that case. And that defensive front is legit. And Aaron Donald, I'm sorry, is just the best defensive tackle in the league. And that's coming from a guy, I love K'Wan Short. I mean, he's neck and neck, but I mean, there's nobody that gets off the ball faster than Aaron Donald. Man, that dude is in the backfield. I mean, he can beat double teams. So they got pressure on you. What did the Rams do that the Panthers are going to be watching and trying to replicate?
Interior pressure, which the Panthers know because Lord knows they played against Breeze enough over the years. And Breeze being a shorter quarterback, he needs the he's not going to see over top of the line, so he needs the passing. He needs his line to open up passing lanes, so that way he can progress through his reads. And the Panthers know that. And they realize more than anybody that they need to get interior pressure on these guys, and when on the Saints and Breeze, and when Carolina has shut down or contained the Saints passing game in the past, it's because the defensive tackles have clogged up those lanes and pushed the interior line back into Breeze's face. And that's when defensive ends like Charles Johnson, who's been a Saints killer throughout his career, he's made plays from the outside because Breeze has had to hold on to the ball a little bit too long because he's waiting for those lanes to develop.
Well, hey, let me ask you this. Let me ask you this. And Tony asked a guest this a couple weeks ago. I can't remember which one, but I think it's a great question for a guest like yourself. Fill in the blank here. If the Saints were to win, blank has to happen. If the Panthers are to win, blank has to happen.
If the Saints were to win, they need to control Carolina's running game. If Carolina is to win, Cam is going to do it with his legs.
Okay. Wow. I think that's probably what I would say. Yeah.
When one of the things, Ramczyk, what year is Ramczyk?
Rookie.
He's rookie.
So he was somebody I had the Panthers potentially looking at in the top 10. I mean, he's a player.
Very high. So you're talking about Ramczyk, Lattimore, and Kamara. And I'm sure are there any other rookies contributing at a high level for this team?
Yeah, Marcus Williams. Williams is playing pretty well at free safety. He's not been the playmaker that he was at Utah in college, but again, he's a rookie. Yeah. So he's still learning how to read opposing offenses. But what I liked about this guy coming out, and even at the scouting combine, is when he was at Utah. He's a student of the game, and when you play a classic center field type of free safety position, when you start to learn opposing offenses' tendencies and things like that, you're going to start to make plays. Trey Hendrickson, all Saints fans are keeping an eye on what Trey Hendrickson could do at defensive end now that Alex Okafor is out. because the mantle and responsibility to that spot opposite Cam Jordan sort of falls to him. He's splitting snaps with Kikaha still, but Hendrickson is more of an every down player. Kikaha is more of a specialized pass rusher, and Hendrickson is going to have to play big against you guys this week to help contain that running game. And even outside of that, he's on injured reserve now. But a lot of us Saints fans were really excited about Alex Anzalone, third round pick from Florida.
He played well in the first game.
Yeah, I forgot about that. But yeah, he's extremely active and athletic. And the Saints linebacking core is awful thin as it is, and that was a big injury going down. But this is a terrific draft class.
Is it the best in the history? I know it's got to be the best, like in the history of the Saints, but like this is arguably one of the best draft classes ever.
So far,
so far, right? And 3, 4, 5 years down the road, a lot of things can change.
Sure.
But as far as the impact that these guys are making right now, they're comparable with some of the better draft classes throughout the NFL.
Mel, have you ever, I know that every now and then you get some rookies come in and make a difference, but so many making so large of a difference is, I think you hit with Kamara,
you're
man.
Happy if you get two. You're happy if you get two contributing that first year out of your draft class. To get 4 solid contributors starting
and
making
3 Pro Bowlers.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
At the beginning of the year, if you were to say the Saints were 8-3 and Drew Brees was not carrying the load, I mean, you would have taken that and ran with it, right? I mean, it's a dream come true for Saint fans, I believe. And you guys are a real legitimate team, and it's going to be a heck of a battle. And I was asking Tony this, and I don't know the answer to it. No, I was asking Joe this before the show, and I'm not sure the answer to it. If the Panthers played their very best game and the Saints played their very best game, who wins?
Wow.
I think it's probably 5 out of 10.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think you're right because the two teams as it is, their styles just complement each other perfectly. I know everybody in the division hates Atlanta,
Exactly.
but Carolina and New Orleans they're an underrated rivalry for starters, and they've given us some terrific games over the years. Because it's almost like, I don't know if either one of you guys are boxing fans or boxing historians, but it's like Ali Frazier. The histories of these two teams, one's the puncher and one's the boxer, and they just complement each other perfectly. Now, like you guys have both said, this Saints team is a little bit different. And on the Under the Dome podcast, you guys' sister podcast, we were just talking about earlier. That we expect, throw styles and statistics out the window on this one because it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out, old-fashioned slugfest. And you're right. If they both play at their best and they play each other 10 times, it's probably going to be 5-5.
Yeah, I think it's pretty close. And a lot of it's going to come down to if Cam Newton gets into the sinkhole that he was in that first game, you guys will blow us out. But if he plays to his capability with no turnovers and he's running the ball and he's making a difference, it's going to be a battle.
You can't make. any team that turns the ball over inside the 30 twice is. That's just it's hard. Especially when the other team plays a good game like they did. So the Saints, they came into our house and whooped us. We were at that game. It was miserable experience for Panther fans. But the Panthers have traveled well to New Orleans and played them in their house. Well, it seems like our division plays each other well on the road, and at times struggles with each other at home. But where are you concerned? What concerns right now going into this week do you have for the Saints making this spoiling 2 games in a row? Where is the weakness right now for the Saints?
Well, it's one big area, and probably the biggest weakness on the team is this team's ability to cover kicks and cover punts. They've been gashed pretty much all season long on both kickoff and punt returns. Haven't been able to cover kicks. And I was watching Carolina play the Jets last week, and there's this kid. His name is Clay. Clay looked like a bolt of lightning as a punt returner, and my jaw just kind of dropped. And that was before the Rams returned, I think, 3 kicks for over 30 yards against New Orleans, knowing that it had been a problem for this team all year long anyway. That's one area of concern. And secondly, even though the Saints are just coming off of an 8-game winning streak, every single first drive that the opponents have had, they've either gotten points or been put in a position to score points. And while the Saints offense has been able to answer in kind, you'd like to think that especially in a divisional rivalry where it's a toss-up coming in anyway, you need your team to get off to a better start. And with a group of young guys, granted, there's some fine veteran leadership on this team. You're coming off of not only your first loss in 2 months, but you figure the week before against Washington, they did not lead that game until they won it in overtime. So that's 2 straight games, 120 minutes of regulation football. They have not had the lead. You got to wonder if this team's confidence is shaken a little bit. And how they answer the bell. We'll use the term boxing analogy again. They took one on the chin. They went down, and they're picking themselves up off of the canvas now. How are they going to?
Sorry, I had it. I had the boxing bell sitting there.
Nice.
Keep going. Sorry, I didn't mean to throw you off. But yeah, how are they going to respond after taking one on the chin? Really?
And every single one of us, right? I personally, I have confidence in this group. I have had confidence in this group, since the preseason. But this is the biggest challenge as far as adversity goes that they have faced thus far. Schematically, getting those 2 cornerbacks back helps. But we all know that the Saints need to contain Stewart, McCaffrey, and especially Cam Newton's legs to control that running game, because if the Panthers can run the ball at will, Cam is going to hit some big plays down the field, and then the Saints are in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, this is and the Panthers likewise. They've got to control the Saints running game. Is that, to me, I'd rather you have to be worried about Drew Brees, Hall of Fame quarterback. He's going to be Drew Brees no matter what the situation is, to me. And I feel like he's like a Tom Brady type of guy. He's just going to keep playing until somebody tells him he can't anymore. But, I'm okay with Drew Brees beating us. And actually I'm not okay with it. But, is that I don't think you can stop him completely. I think saying like you're going to fully contain Cam Newton is kind of a unrealistic proposition. I just don't think our defense can have a team doing both against us. Running the ball, it's got to be one or the other. And I think that that we've said this, our secondary is suspect, and that it gets suspect when teams are running the ball against us. So if Ingram and Kamara come out and are effective, it's going to be a long day for the Panthers, not because they're just getting gashed on the run, but because Drew Brees is going to kill them in the end. So so the offensive line, how has the running the game been in the last 2 weeks? Take away the Kamara 76 return, that big run. How has it been in the last 2 weeks, those 120 minutes you were talking about?
They did struggle against the Rams. And I think in part that was game planning too. Peyton had decided that he was gonna throw the ball more often than he ran. Because even though New Orleans did trail all game against Los Angeles, it's not like they were hopelessly behind. The running game really wasn't taken out of the game plan until late fourth quarter when they needed to go into a couple of 2-minute drills. Outside of that, they did run the ball pretty well against Washington. Offensively, I thought they played pretty well against the Redskins. The problem against the Redskins was defensively.
Right.
They took a step back. Part of that was Lattimore going down in the first series, and that kid has basically missed the last 2 games. and to see how the Saints pass defense especially has performed, the fact that he's sitting on the sidelines and they have performed that poorly probably clinches defensive rookie of the year for him.
Is he Is he full back? Is he back fully this week?
They're listing him and Crawley both as questionable. No, I mean, it's still early in the week. The feeling around the team is that Lattimore is probably going to play, and Crawley is just about a 50-50 bet at this point. But back to your question about the running attack. Kamara and Ingram both ran the ball pretty well against Washington. They did struggle to find some space to run against Los Angeles, though. And even the first game against you guys, the rushing statistics by both Kamara and Ingram, I mean, they ran the ball fairly effectively, but it wasn't off the chart. The running game did not beat Carolina in that first matchup.
Right. No, you're absolutely right. Last couple of questions. Let's check in. We need to check in and just know, what's Ted Ginn Jr. been doing?
In my opinion, he's had his best year as a pro, as a receiver. He hasn't blown the top off of defenses consistently, like he did when he was in a Panther uniform or through his career. But I'll tell you where he's impressed me is his consistency they love to run these short slants to both him and Thomas, get the ball in their hands and let the guys make plays. And they like to throw the wide receiver screen again too, and he's been pretty consistent. Outside of Kamara and Thomas, he's their third best receiver, which is good because Willie Snead has pulled a disappearing act. Another problem
like one catch, like on the season, I feel like, or something.
Three catches for 32 yards all season long.
Whoa.
Yeah, whoa is right. I mean, but Ginn is caught 42 for 641. Wow. And he's pretty consistently in the 70 to 80 yards per game range. I don't think he's going to break 1,000 yards unless he has a few 150, 170 yard receiving games. But he has impressed me with his consistency.
I hate to hear that. Sorry.
It's not really that surprising though, is because where he's inconsistent is just in the deep game. It's he actually does very well on these intermediate type routes.
The short hitches and goes,
Yeah, I mean that's where he was. It's just, man, when a guy has that kind of speed, you want him to go deep. What about Klein? What's he been doing?
AJ. AJ's a leader on that defense. I knew he was a good run defender. He's impressed me as in pass coverage as well. There were a couple times, and this is, I think this was week 5 or week 6 against Green Bay. Now, granted, Green Bay was without Aaron Rodgers, but they still have a very talented receiving core. And I saw Klein covering a couple wide receivers down the field a few times. Wow. He's much more athletic than I thought he was going to give us. And the man is a terrific run defender. He shoots the gaps well. Mm-hmm. He shoots the gaps well, and having him back, he's been nicked up the last couple weeks too. But he's going to be a full go for the game against Carolina. And I tell you, that's big for the Saints defense, because if he was not at 100%, that Panthers running game would really scare me then.
Right on. What do you think about how you feel about the outcome of this game? You don't have to pick a score if you don't want to, but do you think that the Saints pull one out at home, or do you think that the Panthers can go on the road and eke out a win?
You guys are going to hate me, but I like the Saints' chances in this game. And it's not just at home. I really feel confident that the team is going to rebound. We mentioned a couple of the injured players that they've been without. Having them back as a full go is extremely key, extremely vital. Excuse me. I look for a bounce back performance from the offense, especially that running game. I think they're going to hit Carolina with the run early and try to establish that. And as long as they can do that. Honestly, I like the Saints by about 10 points in this one.
Holy
Well, hey,
cow.
well, one good thing is if correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the last time you came on the show, you predicted the Panthers were going to beat the Saints. You guys were 0-2 at the time, and we went on to win. So hopefully you'll keep your prediction streak alive here and go 0-2.
Well, maybe you shouldn't run off to Vegas with my predictions then.
That's what I'm hoping. I can understand why you feel that way. Your team is absolutely legit. There's no doubt about it.
Sure. Where do you think though the winner of the is that because I don't agree, right? I don't like what you're saying, but I don't dislike you. I just dislike the Saints. But what I wanted to ask is to me it's an interesting thought is whoever wins this game is going to be 9-3.
Yeah.
Where does that team go? I mean, does this mean there's an ascension for either one of these teams? How far do you see the NFC South kind of prodding through when it's all said and done?
I can see either one of these teams making a Super Bowl run. I really can.
Wow.
Because of the way that they are built to win on the road. They are built to win in Philadelphia if they have to go there. They are built to win against a rugged, and I know we just lost to them, but they're still built to win against a rugged LA or Minnesota Vikings defense. It's not, in Carolina's case, it's not Cam Newton and nothing else. They have a few weapons. I love McCaffrey in the Panthers uniform, and we all know what that defense can do. And we've talked about the Saints offensively. And that the fact that they're not just Drew Brees in that passing game anymore, and that they have to win shootouts, they can win a 20-17 game now. They're equipped to be able to win a 20-17 game now. So as long as either Carolina or New Orleans can stay healthy, I think that they're equipped to at least make a run at the Super Bowl. They could beat any of the other NFC contenders, and the NFC is as wide open as I can remember it. I mean, the last handful years it's been pretty much two teams, a Seattle and Green Bay or Seattle and Atlanta. This season you can make a legitimate claim that 4 or 5 teams can make a run towards a Super Bowl victory, not just a berth. Home field obviously would be beneficial to either Carolina or New Orleans in the playoffs. But both of these teams are equipped to win on the road. So health, as with most NFL teams, is the key. And this one's a big one for momentum because Carolina has a seasoned squad, but momentum is everything. And that's why this is the biggest game for both of these teams this year so far.
No doubt.
Yeah, I'm telling you, you beat a team like, especially if Carolina was able to pull out this win and then play Minnesota and get 2 wins against 2 teams that are 8-3, 9-2, or whatever it is. All of a sudden, the Eagles don't look so far ahead of the bunch.
Right.
As you catch that wave and then you can ride it. It is crazy just how stacked the NFC is this season. And I was hesitant to be believers in some of these teams. The Saints took me a little while, but I remember what it was when we were on that 15-game winning streak, and everybody was just picking against us every week, and it was the week you're gonna lose. So I was like, man, you know what? I'm starting to believe in the Saints. But the Vikings have even got me that way. I was just not. I'm sorry, Case Keenum. I thought Thielen was overrated, and you know what? I'm just wrong. These guys are balling out there. I mean, there are some really good teams in the NFC, and I mean, this is the year the NFC wins the dang Super Bowl. I mean,
Don't count out the evil empire, though. I mean, they're silently 9-2.
We smoked them. They ain't that good.
But they're not the same team they were back then, though.
All right, Bob is getting a lot of compliments in the chat room for being a great guest. Lynn says props for bringing Bob Rose on. They like the input. Bob, thanks so much for joining us. Can you tell everybody how they can find your work?
Yeah, guys, and absolutely. Thank you for having me on the show, and thank you for all the compliments in the chats. I appreciate that, guys. Also. But I do work and write for the Canal Street Chronicles. We, of course, cover the New Orleans Saints. Canal Street Chronicles has a Facebook page and can also be followed on Twitter at Saints CSC. And if you'd like to follow my work individually, I have a Facebook page, Bob Rose, and my Twitter is BOBBYR2613, Bobby R2613. And absolutely, if you're going to follow, shoot me some messages too, or ask questions or give your input. I love to talk football. Love to talk NFC South rivalries too. This is all in good fun, and these are fun games. So
definitely. And you know what? The one thing we know is we know our teams. It's is that and this is where fans are the same way. Is like we know our team. We watch them every week. And so we get the guys we go to get the info on the other teams, even when they're in the division and we're familiar. And Bob Rose is the guy to go check out Canal Street Chronicles and follow him on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks, Bob, man. We're going to bring you back later on in the season, especially when we get the – go ahead.
One last question I got to ask. People want to know, is that a hurricane in that mug that you keep sipping out of?
No, coffee first and then water. So,
all right, man. All right. Well, hey, terrible luck to you this weekend, but thanks for coming on the show.
Right back at
all right. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. All right, Mel. So we've got Bob calling a 10-point win over the Panthers. I
wanted to punch him when he said that. No, I'm just kidding. He's a great guy. He's a great guy.
You know what is that? They should be confident. Is that I know that people in the chat room are going to be upset that when a guy comes on our show and is touting his team. But first of all, that's what you're supposed to do. Second, they're 8-3. They smoked us in our house. You should feel good about your chances. Yeah. And the Panthers, while we've got some really good, there's some shiny parts to this car. There are some dents and dings in it too.
The problem with the Panthers so far this year is the inconsistency.
I think the Panthers win. I'm calling the Panthers this week. I'm a Cam Newton believer. I do think this is going to be a team where I think our offense is going to be effective against them. I think
his thumb's got to be right. If his thumb's not right and he comes out and he throws 11 for 28 this week.
Well, yeah, you can't do that, but I will dispute the 11 for 28 that we got to wipe about 8 of those passes off, and he was really 11 for 20, which is still not fantastic by any means. Right. But at the same time, I mean, we have to be better on offense. I get that. But really, this game is going to be won by the Carolina Panthers defense. They have to stop that running attack. If Kamara and Ingram run the ball on us, there's really no hope. I mean, I'm just sorry. You can't do both. You can't have both. And Drew Brees is going to be Drew Brees, and he's going to get 250 yards. You want to limit him on touchdowns.
He's probably going to get 300 yards, but you want to limit that running game to under 100.
Yeah, we just can't have them running 150 yards on us. I'm sorry, I just can't. For that to be all right. So, plenty is. I did want to tell him that after he said. All of that about his team too.
Go write a blog about it. Browder played well. These guys played hard. You know.
Go write a blog about it, Bob. Bob the blogger. Is really cool dude. Been on the show. I think that's the 3rd time he's been on the show. Just been a fantastic guest all around each time. So check out his work. All right. You know what is I'm really upset that Joe's not here for this. But it's time, folks. It's time for the cat calls. And before we get into the cat calls, I do want to remind everybody, thank you for watching. We appreciate all of the support that we get in the chat room. Each and every week, we have a strong cohort of people who make this show great. Their conversation far exceeds my input, and I appreciate everything you do for us. And you can continue to help us by just smashing that thumbs up button, hitting the share. Go one step further and share this podcast. And I want to give a shout out too on Facebook. And I can only watch so many things so much. So I do try to pay attention to YouTube specifically because we have such a live chat there. But I want to give a shout to Casey Dean Fraze, who is a listener on Stitcher. So he checks out the podcast. Usually he's listened live twice now, but and maybe more than that. But he messaged me. He said, I generally check out the podcast on Stitcher. I appreciate all the people that are listening on iTunes, Stitcher. You guys, too, when you get to the stoplight, when you get to work, go ahead and share that link to the podcast on social media. It can really help us grow. And if you guys are feeling frisky, consider donating to Patreon, because $1 a month can really help this show meet the needs of, like, we've got to pay. I pay to blast this out on all the different channels that on Periscope, and you got to pay for the website and things like that. And it's a labor of love, but any little bit helps. So we appreciate all that. And guys, you can support the show by calling the Cat Calls line. You see it on the screen, 252-228-5098. And Mel, we got some special ones, and it starts with you.
Go write a blog about it.
Nope. Go write a blog about it. How about that? Let's see what we got here.
Go write a blog about it.
I can't play the dang cat.
Thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty. You shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like.
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey y'all, JJ from Carborough again. Scotty freaking Jurassic, or should I say Mel Mayock? Give me a break, man. It's the same diction, same voice. We all know it's you. Stop trolling us, man. We know it's you. I mean,
what is he talking
y'all
about?
Y'all know it's him, right? I'm not the only one that can tell, am I? Scotty Jurassic is Mel Mayock. And if I'm wrong, then call me a liar. So if I'm
Liar.
Wrong, I'm crying. And for anybody that's got kids, y'all know what I'm talking about. Go Panthers. JJ out. Alright, y'all.
Oh.
JJ from Carborough, one last time. I mean, just wanted to further onto my point and add to my pinnacle, as Cam would say.
That's a good line right there.
But Scotty Jurassic is Mel Mayock. I mean, come on. Every time he
What's
is
Donald
on
Trump say?
the damn cat calls, Mel Mayock comments on him just like somebody who farted and says, that wasn't me. Damn, y'all smell that? That is totally Mel Mayock. He's like, every time Scotty Jurasic's on, Mel Mayock's like, man, that guy, he sucks. Man, that is just like saying, that ain't my part. Mel, that is totally your part. You are Scotty Jurassic. I ain't fooled, bro.
Wrong.
Go Panthers, keep pounding. And I love you, Mel. You're the best.
Funny.
That is your part.
Boy Nova Black. I've been a long time listening to the C3 podcast. It's my first time using the cat call, and I just want to say that's how you win a game. It was ugly as shit, but that's how you win a football game. Cam Newton had a bad day. Ref wasn't giving us a call and all that good stuff. You know, but the defense showed up when it mattered. They can't do what they had to do. They punched one in there. Hey, we got the W. And on to whoever's next. Let's go. Keep pounding.
Mel, Slim J says that's fake news.
That's fake news, man. That's right. Yeah, I can't believe a guy comes on here and compares me to some Atlanta Falcon fan. I mean,
that's fake news.
Donald Trump says wrong. I love
that
it.
line is amazing. Well done, Slim. That was the pinnacle. The pinnacle. Here we go. We're gonna keep plowing through these calls.
What's up, fellas? We're 8-3. I'm loving the game, folks.
Professor Mel Mayock and the freaking Puerto Rican. What's up, boys? It's the YouTube champion, Cody Lashley. And first, I agree with Cam. There's no such thing as an ugly win, because there's no such thing as a pretty loss. But I got two things for the show. One's just a statement, and one I kind of want to get your read on and see if you guys are feeling the same way. So, number one, can we please bench Charles Johnson in favor of Wes Horton? I feel like for the past 3 games in a row, dude, Wes has made some really good sacks at crucial moments in the game.
Yes.
And
he sets the edge.
Charles Johnson, I mean, he's done a lot for the organization, but he's not even getting pressure anymore. I think his time is up. So yeah, that's one vote for Wes Horton. But the other thing is, I think Steve Wilkes is playing our linebackers too close to the ball. So, for example, as soon as the play starts, Luke, Shaq, and Thomas, they're running towards the line of scrimmage. And whenever those offensive guards and tackles and centers, like whenever they get past our linemen, they're right at our linebackers on the second level. And that's, that's a good block for their running back. And the last 2 games in a row, we've given up 100 yards rushing. I mean, I think one of the reasons we have the best linebacking core in the NFL is because of how good they are at dropping back into coverage. And that's not something I'm seeing much out of our linebackers this year. I think that's because of Steve Wilkes. I want to know if you guys agree or if you've noticed that at all. But anyway, love the show. Keep pounding and fuck Saints.
Good end there. All right, so that's an interesting thing. First is that Charles Johnson has been a no-show. I mean, he just looks old. In his defense, it's not a defense. Is I'm just not trying to knock a guy who's meant a lot to the team entirely. He hasn't been bad. He hasn't
been solid, but he
hasn't blown any plays. But he has not gotten any pressure on the quarterback, 0. So, he's just a run stop. He's an edge setter. That's it. He's not going to over-pursue, maybe because he can't, some things like that. But interesting question really comes back to Steve Wilkes' style. Very aggressive, right? Is that far more blitzes than we've seen in the past. And maybe because it's needed to generate a little extra pressure at times. He is just, I think, aggressive by nature. But, Mel, how do you respond to his question about the linebackers? Because I've got some opinions on that quickly, too.
Well, yeah, that's a great observation that, quite honestly, I have not noticed. But now that you mention it, I think that's an astute observation, right? I still say we have the best trio of linebackers in the league, and I don't even think it's close. I mean, Luke Kuechly is a generational player. If he stays healthy, he's a Hall of Famer. The guy knows where the ball's going before the play gets there. But, I would have to go back and look at the tape, honestly, and look at some games and see what you're talking about there, Cody. I think that's a great observation. Thank you for bringing it up.
I think one of the things that we do is we'd like to crowd the line to disguise those types of things, So you put all of those linebackers in the A and B gaps or whatever they're called, and then you get guys dropping in and out, trying to disguise some things. Now, he is right. This is when a guard gets to a linebacker, that's a win for an offense, right? And so proximity may make it be easier to do if your defensive line isn't doing an exceptional job on their own. I think another thing, though, is that maybe it feels this way, and it could be style with Wilkes, but we just need our linebackers to do some things this year that they haven't had to do in the past, and that I think comes with Shaq Thompson. Is you're seeing them, they're saying this is we got to have this guy on the field, we got to make it work. Is that he's too good of a player to not make it work, and if we don't, we just then it's our mistake, not Shaq's. So I think some of this is just like, hey, we got to figure out a way to use 3 linebackers all the time, and it not be, and maybe those are some of the dynamics that go into it. Very tough, interesting thing, because what is that it comes back to this. Panthers, when they're not stopping the run, this defense is showing, it's showing some vulnerability. And there have been some moments, like he said, that this team has struggled against the run, and that's not what they're supposed to do with those pieces. All right, let's keep going. We got a couple more calls, I think, maybe one more.
Hey guys, this is Shaughnessy Evans from Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I just got done watching the game. It was a little bit closer than what I wanted it to be, but I'll always take 8-3. The game, was okay, but I just wanted to say that I know it won't happen, but I'd like to see us switch and put Christian McCaffrey in the starting role, because Jonathan Stewart, he's just playing like trash. 3 fumbles in the last 3 weeks is just unacceptable. Also, I would have liked to see us keep Greg Olsen out until the New Orleans game, just as a precaution, because, you know, he's hurt now, so that's really going to bite us in the foot. And also, I would like to see us stop playing prevent defense so early in the fourth quarter. If we wouldn't have played prevent defense, I don't think the Jets would have scored any more today. That's just my opinion, but keep pounding, fellas.
I think there's a legit, I do think that's a good call, and I agree 100%, is that I don't know why we brought back Olsen, period, in that game. I know it's coming off.
Other than trying to work him in, you may not want the Saints to be on that turf to be the first game back. I mean, it's hard for us to say not seeing him every day, knowing where he's at. But, I mean, point taken.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, is that it's nice that they sat him at the half. It doesn't sound like it's serious at this moment, but that they're not forcing it too much. But is that another week you don't need him necessarily to beat the Jets. But you're right, time to kick off some of the rust. He needs to get some confidence in that foot as well, which is going to help against the Saints. And two, you could have let him sit another week, because they did it with Bird. You know, they activated him off of IR, and you have 2 weeks to do it. So really, I think, and then it comes back to something we've talked about too, is Jonathan Stewart. You know, at what point does the coaching staff give another guy some opportunity? I think, it's past that time a little bit. And I don't think that means just benching the dude entirely. But give him a little break, you know what I'm saying? And give another guy an opportunity to get some rhythm, too. Not just one carry and then be like, well, you know what? We're back to Jonathan Stewart.
I don't get that. One carry.
Okay, so that's not a bad idea, Tony, by doing that. You can also get Stewart some rest before this playoff run that we're getting ready to start, Lord willing.
Exactly. That you don't need him being hurt at that end. I mean, we've been fortunate that he's been healthy for the most part the last 3 years.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Let's have him. What's wrong with having him fresh and ready to go when, the playoffs start? You know what I'm saying? That would only be beneficial to us. And it would give Cap a chance to get that rhythm you're talking about. Have a game where he leads have a couple of games where he leads the team in carries.
Yeah. YouTube chat, McCaffrey needs way more carries. So I mean, there's other guys need opportunity to get some momentum and some rhythm too. And you can't just, I think it's a cop-out to just say, well, we're too worried about pass protection, because you haven't been worried with McCaffrey. You certainly haven't been worried about him.
And they weren't worried about it the years that they had the turnstile there as the offensive tackle, when they had him, or they had what's-his-face as an offensive tackle. They can't scream that now. Pass protection. Give me a break. That's been a problem for the last 4 years, 5 years.
Yeah. All right. We do want to run through, Mel. We got the fantasy football, the 12 teams that have made the playoffs in the C3 fantasy football draft. We will get into more detail. We'll probably do a little show or something before this week on this. And I have not figured out the 4 teams that have the bye yet. Funny this is that one of my computers died today. The computer, thank God, that I do the show on, it updated for 2 hours in all of my settings. So I'm lucky I even got these down. I have chaperone. But here from the Mentor League in the East Division, the winner of the East Division was This Team Has No Name, 8-4. The winner of the West Division, the North Remembers, 8-4. And the wild card, Forgetting Brandon Marshall, 8-4. Those 3 teams are going to advance to the playoffs. In the Muhammad League, you have the winner of the East Division, the Pro Bowlers, 9-3. You have the winner of the West Division. Here's my number, Khalil Me Maybe at 7-5.
Love that name.
Yeah, and the wild card team is Ken Dye, Cam, top 5, no holding Mayo, 8-4, makes it to the playoffs there. So then from the Mills League, this is the league you're in, right, Mel?
Yep.
You missed it by a game. Better Bullware. The Butler wins the East at 8-4. The Justice Luke of America 9-3 wins the West. Wild card team and first winner of the C3 Fantasy Football Challenge, the Not So Lazy Susans, comes in at 8-4.
I just beat her last week. Oh.
Yeah, well, you got one game. I missed it by one game as well. And I could have made a wild card spot in Molten Salt 6-6. Almost made it. I was close. I needed a little bit more though. Probably should have started Zeke at some point. Dang it. No. All right. So last league, Rucker, winner of the East. Smile for the camera. And by the way, really the best name in the league because it's written in the Cam Newton font as well. Why did I not write down their record? I think they were 8-4, I believe. Gano, your Butker, is the winner of the West, and the wild card is 28-3. This was such a close division. There were 3 teams that were 8-4 and 1 in the East. And the tiebreaker goes by points. I went and looked in the draft guide to make sure that I didn't mess that up. The points takes it. And because the Hog Dollies, man, they beat Smile for the Camera or one of the teams at some point. So this was so close. These teams both had over 1,400 points on the season. Came down to 70 points difference between the winner of that division and the wild card. So, we're seeing it in the NFC this year is that, man, sometimes the winning teams just are in the same division. It's tough. So congratulations to those 12 teams who are now they're in the money. They're in the money. All of them make basically their buyback back. They get $25. So they paid for a t-shirt this year, and they have an opportunity to win hundreds of dollars and some really big prizes when it comes to the Christian McCaffrey jersey. And also we've had some personal issues going on with the members of the show, not in a terrible or not in a good or a bad way, just part of life that comes and faces all of us. But we are catching up on the weekly prizes. We'll get all that mailed out this week. I think we got 5 prizes to send out. We're going through and catching those winners. And so there's going to be lots of things, lots of opportunity for everybody to win. The playoffs start, but is that there's still plenty to play for. You want to win your division, even if you didn't make it in the top 12. There's a lot of pride to be made. And you want to follow all this on CarolinaCatChronicles.com.
Man, It's been a fun year. It's been an exciting ride, man. It's been a fun league. It's nothing like playing fantasy football with just Panther fans. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. We got to work next year. We're going to work a lot more. And, I've had 2 computers break this year in the middle of trying to keep the podcast, the website going, office move, a lot of things going on with work and family. No excuses, though, because we start this stuff, we run it. But next year, we're going to continue to facilitate, work on generating conversation. But we need your help, too. Get in those message boards. Get on Twitter. Have fun with it. Even if your team is 4-8, there's still plenty to jest and talk junk about. But, when you're in 7 fantasy football leagues, you can only participate in so many message boards. So I say orient your energy to the best one, the C3 Carolina Panthers Fantasy Football League.
I'm down with that.
All right, we got to do Ice Up picks and our picks this week. Let's start with the biggest game on the schedule. I mean, probably haven't looked at all the games for the week outside of our division. But it's hard to think of a game that's bigger in what it means and in the matchup than the Panthers at the Saints. So let's start with that one. Joe, you're back on the show now, so you tell us. We're going to let you pick first. Who you like? You talked with some Saints fans about the Panthers. We talked with the Saints fan while you were gone. Who you got?
Well, I think the Panthers are going to win. I think the revenge factor is going to play a big part of this.
I like that.
It's pretty obvious. We know what we have to do. And I think Greg Olsen coming back is going to be a big part of our winning. He is a Saints killer. So I think it's going to be close. I'm thinking somewhere in the area of like 28-27, 30-28, somewhere around there.
31-20, I like those scores, yeah. There's going to be some points scored in this by both teams. I do not see this being a dud offensively. I'm going to pick the Panthers as well. I think this is that I've been impressed with the Saints. I think they're young though, I'm hoping that that their look, our defense is better than their defense. I'm ready to say that. I mean, obviously it is statistically. Their defense has been impressive this year. Their offense has played better than ours at times this year. Their running game has been very good. But I think the Panthers, we have some offensive weapons despite – look, we've still got Cam Newton. Christian McCaffrey could be having his coming out party. And our offensive line has been playing better than it was earlier in the season, in my opinion. I'm just pulling – look, this is a Panthers podcast. I'm a Panthers fan. I'm picking the damn Panthers.
Sometimes you just got to say it. Right on.
Yeah.
Well, hey, guys, let's make it a three for here. Let's make it a hat trick because the way I think about it, I think the Panthers and the Saints played 10 times. I think it goes 5-5. We've played once already. They got their win. I think it's time we get our win. And I think another key is we're getting healthy. We're getting Ryan Khalil back. We're getting Greg Olsen back. We're getting Demir Bird back. We're getting some guys over the bumps and bruises with the late season bye week. The Saints, on the other hand, the injuries are starting to pile up there. They are getting some people back, but they're coming back off of injuries that, they're still bumped up, still hurt, and they've been losing people where we've been bringing people back. I'm taking the Panthers. Cam Newton's thumb has to be right. We have to stop the run. So we could lose this game, but I'm taking the Panthers. I'm saying 37-28.
All right, who's next on the list?
You got the Bucks versus Green Bay.
All right. Man, that's a tough who's starting at quarterback? Does it matter for Tampa Bay? I mean, they seem to be just as good.
I think it's still going to be the backup. What's his name?
Fitzpatrick?
Yeah.
Well, no, they are reporting that Jameis Winston is looking to play Sunday versus the Packers.
Okay.
Who is
so he's probable.
Where is it at?
It's probable. It's not definite yet.
It is in, where is it? Come on, where is it in Green Bay or is it in Tampa?
Green Bay just plays Pittsburgh at home, at Pittsburgh, so it may be in Green Bay.
It is in Green Bay.
It is Green Bay. Man, that's tough, cold weather, but I don't think Green Bay is very good. Gosh, I'm going to pick.
They played the Steelers well. They played the Steelers well.
They did. They did. Dang. Man, it's hard to pick the Bucks at anything. I'm going to pick the Bucks on the road in this one.
Okay.
Upset.
Yeah. I'm totally going Green Bay.
All right. Who you got, Mel?
I am going with the whole thing about Tampa playing with temperatures under 32 degrees, and I think it's going to be under 32 degrees up there. You got Brett Hundley starting to feel more comfortable, getting a little bit better. I'm taking Green Bay at home. I think it's too tough.
Gosh. What is the weather like? I think it was the coaching
staff, man. The coaching staff was trying to have him run Aaron Rodgers' offense.
Right, exactly.
And they've adjusted it and changed some of the play calling and some of the playbook and it's more suited to his style now. And I think it showed on Sunday night.
Yep, I agree.
Sunday, it's supposed to be partly cloudy, 44.
Oh. In that case, I will take Green Bay.
Yeah. You almost talked me into it. Green Bay, man, Tampa looked like trash last week.
I think their eyes on vacation at this point.
I'm changing my
pick. I hate to say it, but I think you're right, man. They're already on the golf course.
I'm really changing my pick. You guys convinced me. I'm going by Green Bay. Gosh. You're right. That's the 40? It's not as cold, but it will be 20. The low is 25. It looks like. Still, that's like a summer. That's like, man, they're gonna be in shorts in Green Bay.
Yeah, pretty much.
Dude, I went up there to Lambeau Field in the weekend before Thanksgiving 9 years ago. I was freezing to the bone, and those fans were out there in shorts and t-shirts, and it was crazy. Different kind of cold up there.
Oh man, there are two monster games on the schedule.
Falcons Vikings. I will be.
It's
hoping that's not.
It's at Atlanta. It's in Atlanta. I'm going first. I'm picking the damn Falcons.
Oh, you suck.
I know, and I hope they lose more than anything. But
I don't think the Falcons have a chance. And you could tell me next week that I'm stupid and wrong if I'm wrong.
I like it.
But I think the Vikings take it to them. I think they're talking. You'll hear more about this later. But the Falcons fans are reading too much of their own headlines. They are so pumped up that they beat a Zekeless Cowboys team. They beat a boomless Seattle team, and then they played a pretty good game this last weekend. But it's not like they've set the world on fire, right? I mean, ice up a little bit.
Slim said the Bucks are already looking for a new head coach.
Right? Yeah.
No, who's not on vacation? Their management staff, because they are looking for a coach. All right, so you're picking the Vikings, Mel. Joe, who you got?
I think it's gonna be a good game, man.
Yeah,
I think it's a real good game. I'm going Minnesota because I want them to beat the Falcons.
Yeah, I'm the odd man. I think I'm the only person that's picking the Falcons. Man, the Falcons, their defense is not garbage.
No.
And
last week was on fire.
And you know what? They have really been there the whole time. It's just they just had a couple of things not go their way.
Exactly.
So this is going to be a great game.
Yeah.
Like I said, I was, I'm a believer in the Vikings, but going on the road, I think the NFC South is just the division beat, I guess. But it's going to be, talk about two games. Are those both 1 o'clock games?
I think the Saints game, or I think the Falcons Vikings game has been flexed to 4 o'clock.
Oh, really? Because right now on the schedule, it's listed as a 1 on NFL.com.
I hope it stays 1.
Yeah,
you hope it stays 1?
That is going to be a good game to watch.
All right, so that's our division picks. Now we just got one last segment, and let's get the hell out of here. A long show, plenty to talk about. That's what happens when the calls are so good, but. This is the longest running segment on the C3 Carolina Panthers podcast. This is the Ice Up segment, our homage to Steve Smith, where we tell somebody ice up to get it together. And if you talk about our suit, we're going to come and beat your ass, Michael Irvin. That's right. No, Steve Smith is always bringing it. And so I'm going to open it up to you guys if anybody wants to hit us up with.
Yeah, I'll go first. My ice up pick this week goes to former Carolina Panther. He was in the game this week against the Panthers, played for the Jets. Phony Coney Ely.
Phony
Coney Ely.
Love it.
I had an opportunity to come and play the Panthers and put up a Super Bowl-like performance against his former team. twice removed.
And he ran his mouth a little bit.
And he talked trash. And then Sunday shows up, and it's time to deliver on that check your mouth wrote. And he didn't have the backside to cash it.
And your body can't cash
so,
it.
That's it.
He showed up in the stat line with a whopping 1 tackle and had no impact whatsoever on the game. So after talking some smack and having this opportunity for a bit of vengeance, you failed to show up. So phony, Coney, Ely, I love it.
Slim J has one worth mentioning, and his ice up pick goes to the New York Giants. They're benching Eli Manning, and the problem is their head coach. They need to bench Ben McAdoo. He says. Anyway, is that
hey guys, do you think Gettleman goes there next year?
Ooh, yeah, maybe. And you get how about this? Is one thing is that if you had somebody in the like Mahomes or somebody that you wanted that you saw that you trying to develop a little bit and you want to get him some action, but we're talking about Geno Smith.
No, that's so bad. And that's going to cost him his streak. Really? 210 consecutive starts.
Oh no, they wanted to let him start the first half and then Geno start the second half to preserve his streak. And Eli came out and said, like, no. Eli said, nah, if you're gonna bench me in the second half, you bench me in the first half.
Yeah, I got you.
So
that's a good way of looking at it. But what the worst part of this is when the Giants were looking for a head coach, Eli Manning is the one that stepped up and spoke up for McAdoo and convinced the Giants front office to hire him as the head coach.
Well, man, talk about paying it backwards.
A2 Brute, huh?
Yeah, exactly. No shit.
Well,
all right,
hey,
now what you got?
I'm calling it now. Gettleman, the new GM in New York, because there's talk about that possibly happening, or at least they're talking about a new GM. Gettleman makes a lot of sense there. And then a new coach. Who would Gettleman bring in? Maybe a Steve Wilkes.
Ooh.
Oh, God.
Yeah, so
I think Gettleman has got some bad blood with the Panthers. I think that you are not going to see a 2.0 of what's going down in Buffalo. Is that Gettleman might just be starting for? Is it interesting?
But he knows talent when he sees it,
and he likes defensive minds.
Yeah. So we'll see. Just a thought out there, but. I alluded to a little bit about this as far as an ice up pick. In my job other than Carolina Cat Chronicles, I spend a lot of windshield time. I do a lot of driving, and I make sure every car that I'm driving has Sirius satellite radio, because when I'm driving through the country and I'm driving through the backwoods, I don't like trying to find that radio station, and I
know you could download a podcast for God's sake.
Well, that's too technical for me. I'm not real sure how to do that, but anyway, I do. Yeah, I'm listening to my NFL shows. I'm kidding about that, but I do like listening to my NFL shows. All right, so I like listening to a show called "Moving the Chains" on the NFL Network.
Oh yeah, that's a good show.
And there is a consistent caller that calls in out of Atlanta, and his name is Dr. Falcon. Which, by the way, a side note, it's a pet peeve of mine anytime they say, hey, we're going to speak to Joe from Charlotte or from the Carolinas, and his favorite team is anybody but Carolina. That's a pet peeve of mine. I hate that. Oh, I want to talk about the Minnesota Vikings. Oh, shut up. You live in Charlotte. Talk about the Panthers. But getting back to what I want to ice up, this Dr. Falcon calls into Moving the Chains. And this guy is so delusional about the Falcons. He's just all over the top, calling in, talking about how great they are. And then today he calls in and he says, oh, we're getting better. He sounds like that Scotty Jurassic dude who I noticed didn't call in this week, right? And no, that is not my breaking of the wind that you smell there. So like Donald Trump says, JJ, you're wrong about who that is calling in.
Wrong.
I'm not Scotty Jurassic. So anyway, Dr. Falcon calls in and he says, hey, we're getting better. You know, we started out in a slump. We're learning this new offense. We're getting better. And we started out slow, but in the month of November and December, we're undefeated. We're going on and we're kicking butts and taking names. And I'm thinking to myself, hey, wait a minute. I was at the game, Dr. Falcon, November the 5th, where you did not win. So you're not undefeated in November and December, and you're not as awesome as you think you are. You've beaten a Tyron Smithless and Zekeless Cowboys team. You beat a boomless Seattle team and when they missed a field goal at the last second. So it's not like you're back. You got a team coming in. If you beat the Falcons this week, I'll give you props, but I don't think it's going to happen. So quit drinking the Kool-Aid so damn fast down there in Atlanta, boys. And Dr. Falcon, to you, ice up, son.
All right, ice up. My ice up pick this week is a little touchy feely, and when I say that is that 180 women have accused massage envy therapists of sexual assault.
Touchy feely.
Yeah, it's a popular chain. Massage envy faces allegations of sexual assault and that they have mishandled these claims. 180 women have accused therapists at Massage Envy of groping and other sexual acts. Now, in Massage Envy's defense, they said 125 million massages over the past 15 years. And 180 complaints ain't bad. I'm icing up these accusations of sexual assault because when we go to a massage parlor, that's what you want, to be groped.
Exactly.
So sorry for doing our jobs. So sorry.
Touchy-feely was the right way to put it, too.
Far, we're like the other 125 million massages that didn't get groped and were disappointed.
I would like to know, where are all the heterosexual men who have been groped by their female bosses, and why aren't they complaining?
Yeah, you got one, and it's that it's the dude that was like Debo or whatever. No, like he's the guy that who's that guy that came out and he was upset that he's a big muscular. He's a former football player.
Oh, you're talking about Terry Crews?
Yeah. He's the guy that came out and is upset he got groped. I know. No, it was a dude, but still.
Oh,
at some point,
of course he's
at some point, it's just a compliment.
Complain about being groped by a female.
Only in this segment, man. Only in this segment.
So to you people who don't want to be groped at massages, I say,
don't go get them.
All right. Sorry. My bad. I know that all of this is serious stuff, and I'm not trying to demean people who have been through terrible things. Just having a little fun. All right, guys, that's the C3 podcast. That's very loud. My name is Tony Dunn. The C3 podcast brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com, where every Tuesday night we chop up the latest Panthers news and opinions from the fan perspective. We ask you to subscribe, share, and support the podcast. We appreciate it. Mel Mayock, tell them how they can find you in the next week until we do it again.
Yes, sir. You catch me anytime at Panthers Drafter. Got a mock draft coming out through Draft Tech every other week. Got one coming out this Thursday. Hey, it's a privilege and an honor to be on this show every week, and you guys make it a lot of fun in the YouTube chat room, so keep it going.
Joe, how can they find you?
Guys, you can find me on Twitter at Joe Riolano. Thanks for participating tonight. You guys are the reason that we do this. Without you, football is just a game kids play.
That's the truth. And Joey will go coach your team with your kids. My name's Tony Dunn. You can check us out next Tuesday night, 9 p.m. live in effect. Call the Cat Calls line. Follow at @cat_chronicles on Twitter. Appreciate it, folks.
Keep pounding.